All right, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I'm driving a Hyundai Genesis Sedan R-Spec. Up front is a 5.0 liter V8 and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. If you'd like to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive where I'll be writing a complete article about the Hyundai Genesis. But let's get back to that 5.0 liter V8. Well, this was not the only engine offered in the Genesis. This is actually the largest engine. So there was a 3.8 liter V6 offered, as well as a 4.6 liter V8 offered as well. But this is the top, baby. This is the R-Spec, and it has the 5-liter V8. It sounds great. The owner has modified the exhaust. This is not the stock exhaust note, but I'm definitely not mad about it. It is a Korean V8, and my first experience with a Korean V8. Oh man, it definitely gets the car moving. There's no doubt about that. It's a quick little car. Well, it's not little, but it's a quick car. But the sound that V8 makes. It sounds European. It really does. It doesn't sound like an American V8. It doesn't shout at you. It doesn't slap you across the face with a Coors Light. It sounds modest, but it sounds pissed. I don't even know how to describe it. We got a little bit more road here, so I don't know. Let's find a better adjective. Okay, that was a better pull. That thing pulls all the way up to the almost 7,000 RPM red line. It did not want to stop pulling. We have some twisty roads here. Oh man. Oh, I love that sound. Oh, that's a good sound. Oh man, and this has a Brembo brakes conversion on it. The owner did that. Oh man, I'm having too much fun. This is a good car. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Different trim levels actually came with a 6-speed ZF transmission. I'm a big fan of those transmissions. The 8-speed is not a ZF. It's actually an in-house Hyundai transmission, and it works. It's not the coolest thing in the world. It's not the fastest shifting. It's not a PDK from a Porsche, but it does the job, and honestly, I can't complain about it too much. This is a luxury car. I'm not expecting to be shifting gears like a madman, you know. This is going to drive differently than a Miata, so it shouldn't shift like one. Last but not least, the Genesis is rear-wheel drive. There was no all-wheel drive option for this year, and I'm pretty happy that they went with rear wheel instead of front wheel. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 real gauges. On the far left, I have my coolant. Then I have my tachometer. On the right, I have my speedometer. And on the far right, we have fuel. In the center, I do get a little screen giving me a bunch of screens. Right now, I'm looking at my average MPG, which is actually 23 miles to the gallon, which out of a decent-sized V8, I'm not mad about for sure. I can also look at my aux cord, a compass, distance till empty, average speed, elapsed time, and we're back to average fuel consumption. On the steering wheel, I have volume controls, voice activation, phone, trip, odometer, stuff like that. But the very interesting thing about this is that there is settings for radar cruise control. This is a 2012 with radar cruise control. So far, the oldest car I've reviewed to have radar cruise control. It's in a Hyundai, which is absolutely cool. You can set your following distance, all that sort of stuff on the steering wheel. And it works like any modern radar cruise control system works, which I think is huge. That's in a Hyundai, a 7-year-old Hyundai, or Hyundai, whatever you want to call it. To the left, I have a bunch of different buttons. I have my parking sensors on and off, lane departure warning system on and off, so it'll kind of beep at you. Pretty typical system, but really nice feature for 2012. Traction control off, my dimmer switches, electronic parking brake, and then I have auto hold. That's right, this car has auto hold braking, so you hit that and the car will not move even though you're still in drive. That's a pretty standard practice feature these days, but 7 years ago, 2012, I mean, this car was really advanced for 2012 is really what I'm getting at. On the door, we do have memory seats, as well as next to the memory seats, we have the peasant blocker. It's the power sunshade in the back. I love them. I think they're really funny. I think they're cool. On the door itself, we do have our power windows, which the front 2 windows are auto, the rear are not, but the front 2 are auto, which is nice. And I have power folding mirrors, so at the touch of the button, we can fold in the mirrors. Again, really nice. And the mirrors are auto dimming and heated. Again, this car just keeps blowing my mind that it's a 2012. Although, let's get into the infotainment because this very obviously is 2012. The infotainment is sort of where this car starts to feel a little cheaper. It's not bad by any means, but it is a pretty dated system by now. I'm not saying that's a bad thing because it's 7 years old. It's a very clear display. I like it a lot. The navigation is really clear, but it does feel a little bit cheaper than the BMWs and Mercedes of the same era. That being said, it still functions, so that's always a plus. Last but not least about the infotainment screen, it is not a touch screen. But down below the infotainment, we have our climate control options. We have dual climate zones, auto, front and rear defrosters, pretty standard practice here. Nothing that really wowed me, but there is something cooling related that is nice, and we'll get to that in a second. Down below the heating and cooling, we have a CD player. This is 2012, and people still made mixtapes on CD. I mean, I did. Like, legitimately, I did. I did that up until 2016, so. Then in front of the shifter, you have a nice little slide back cubby hole, which is just an ashtray and cigarette lighter. Then we come to the shifter. I like the shifter. It's pretty simple. It's a basic automatic shifter. Nothing too crazy here. But next to the shifter is that cooling thing I wanted to talk about. This has cooled seats, heated and cooled seats, only for the driver, so only the driver gets cooled seats, but I am enjoying that pleasantly right now because I don't know if you guys know, but I always do my reviews with the windows up for better sound quality, and it's very hot today, and I'm not dying because my seat is cooling me. So that's super nice. Then down below the shifter, this is where we get the controls for the center infotainment screen. I like the knob a lot. It has good feedback. You know, that's one of my biggest complaints with other manufacturers is that there's not a good feedback, so you don't know what you're doing if you're not looking at it. But this has good feedback. I have FM, AM, XM, disc or aux, map, menu, or info. So you can just hit all those buttons and you can go to your different stuff on the screen. I'll leave it in map. I like seeing where I am, but very tactile, very easy to use. Now the seats are really comfortable. They are power seats. I like the black leather. That's part of the R-Spec package. They only came with the black leather, but I like them a lot. They hug you a decent amount. They're not what I would consider as sporty seats. They don't really have high enough bolsters to be really that sporty, but I like them. I definitely think that they're comfortable. And speaking of seats, of course, 4-door, 4-seater, so we will do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2012 Hyundai Genesis Sedan R-Spec, and first thing you'll notice, 2 little cup holders fold out here in the center console. I have 3 different levels of heated seats. Very, very nice. Center console is pretty big, but it does fold up. The seats are pretty comfortable. They are the black leather, and legroom is a huge plus here. I have plenty of legroom. It is the longer chassis, and I really, really like that. Headroom, I could use a little bit more headroom, but that being said, my head isn't hitting it. I can feel my hair like kind of touching it, but also I need a haircut. I have little speakers in the door. I have vents not only down below on the center console, but I actually have vents here on the B pillar, which is interesting. Overall, really comfortable back seats. I would definitely love to spend an hour, 5-hour, 10-hour road trip back here. It'd fly right by. Really, really nice back seats. Last but not least about the interior is we do have a nice sunroof. It's a decent size, it's a power sunroof, nothing too crazy there. And overall the interior, I like it a lot. It's definitely not quite the quality that you would find in a BMW. It doesn't feel as luxurious as a BMW, but I'm actually really okay with that. And I'll get to why after we talk about looks, which the looks are really, really understated. And I like that. This car is very, very unassuming. The owner, Elia, which thank you, Elia, so much for letting me do this review. This car has been awesome. He said that not many people know about this car. Not many people understand this car, or when they see it out and about or at a car show, at a car meet, they kind of don't give it really a second glance because it just looks like a Hyundai. Really, really unassuming. And I personally really like that because I love a good BMW. I love a good Mercedes, of course, but there's so much weight that comes with those names. You know, there's so many memes about BMW drivers, you know, saying, oh, you know, they drive like jerks and all this stuff. But no one's ever categorized Hyundai drivers as bad drivers. No one's ever categorized really Hyundais at all in a negative light. They've always been great cars. And so really the looks really say it all in the fact that they don't say much, if that makes sense. One last thing about the looks, this car has been lowered just slightly on coilovers, and they are rims from a newer Genesis, I believe the G80. So not factory rims and not factory height, just to get that out there. So let's talk about the R-Spec package. Well, really the R-Spec package isn't all that exciting. It did get the bigger V8, but you could get the bigger V8 with other trims. It came with the black interior, it came with better brakes, a nicer sway bar in the rear, and better factory suspension, but that was really it. Really, you could compare an R-Spec package to an M package, but not an M car, if that makes sense. So like, it would be comparable to a 435M, but it wouldn't be comparable to an M4, if that makes sense. But let's talk about the Genesis as a whole. I did say that the interior isn't as nice as a BMW. It's not as fast as a BMW, and I'm really okay with that for a couple reasons. First of all, the price. You could pick up one of these 2012 you could pick up a 2012 Genesis V8 with 430 horsepower for about 20 grand. And it has radar cruise control, has blind spot monitoring, auto holding brakes, air conditioned seats for 20 grand. I don't know of any other car that you could buy right now today that has radar cruise control that you can buy for 20 grand, new or used. I don't know of any. So in terms of value, this car is insane value. I mean, insane value. I said the same thing about the Genesis Coupe. 350 horsepower for like 30 grand. That ain't bad. But the other reason I'm okay with the fact that this isn't quite as nice as a BMW is the fact that everyone needs a start. Everyone needs a Genesis, a beginning. And so this was the first generation Genesis. Hyundai is still a relatively new brand here in America. So they had to start somewhere. And now in 2019, Genesis is its own brand. It's its own branch. It's not under the Hyundai name anymore. And so this is where it started. And so for a first attempt at a nice luxury sedan, Hyundai hit it out of the park with this car. But really, honestly, it's actually not even really fair to compare this to a BMW because they're not priced similarly. You could pick one of these up for way cheaper. And so price to luxury ratio, I'd say this is probably higher than a BMW. Overall, I really am blown away with the Genesis. I mean, just the amount of technology in the car that was not standard practice in 2012, that alone is astonishing to me. But I love the sound of it. I love the grumble of that V8. Let's get a little bit more, why not? Oh yeah! The power's there, the sound is there. Please, if you have one of these, delete a muffler, please. You will thank me later. The power's there, the sound's there, the technology is there, the luxury's there. It's a comfortable car. And honestly, for around 20-ish grand in today's market, not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. Well, thank you guys so much for watching the video. The owner, Elijah, thank you so much for letting me do this review. He has a YouTube channel focused around this car. So definitely go check that out. I'll leave a link in the description below. I think it's huge that he's making videos about this car because it's a relatively unknown car, and that's the sort of content I like seeing on YouTube. I like learning new stuff, and you'll definitely find that on his channel. So go give him a follow. Again, link in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. I'm gonna floor it again. Take care, guys. Aside from my soul.